Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I'm going to inshallah talk about one ayah in Surah Taha, followed by some verses in Surah Al-Anbiya. And if we have time, inshallah, one ayah in Surah Al-Hajj. So firstly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts off Surah Taha by addressing the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and saying, Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa. Taha, according to some riwayat, is one of the alqab, or the names of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And after that, Allah says to him that, O Prophet, we didn't reveal the Qur'an to you so that you could be misfortunate. So we learn a lot of lessons from this verse. Firstly, many people, they are hesitant to become Muslims simply because of the fact that they think that Islam is a very disciplined, regimented religion which has a lot of rules and regulations, and I will not be able to put up and bear with those rules and regulations. I have to pray 5 times daily, I have to watch my diet, I have to make sure that I don't meet with the opposite gender alone, I have to do so many things which I'm not used to doing right now, and I'm not going to be able to do those things. And the reality is that those people who are Muslims and who truly practice the faith as it's supposed to be practiced, the contentment they get from practicing as it should be practiced is something that is indescribable. Okay? On the other hand, a person who thinks I'm free, I don't have any kinds of rules and regulations to abide by, I have a free life, nobody can question me about how I should lead my life, on what I can eat and drink, on who should I meet, and so on. That person, on the face of it, he has so much freedom, but the reality is that inside he is dying. He is hollow, he is unhappy, he is miserable. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in another verse of the Quran, مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. Whoever turns away from my remembrance, he will have a very tight and a very difficult life, a miserable life. And that is why every few weeks, what do we hear? We hear about these so-called famous personalities. They have millions, they have mansions, they have everything at their disposal in terms of materialistic things, but yet they are miserable. Why? Because their life is devoid of spirituality and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here, مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى, on the outside it seems to the person that it's difficult, but on the inside, the person who's actually practicing, the contentment he receives is basically, it is priceless. It is not something that you can put a price on. And that only happens when actually a person lives by the true spirit of Islam, and he's not always pursuing the world, and he's contented with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. Okay, the world is such a thing that you can continue to pursue it, and it's a losing battle. It will always run ahead of you. Okay, and you can take so many examples of worldly things that you see on a day-to-day basis. Okay, you have the latest cell phone that came out. In a few months, that cell phone will become obsolete, and now you have to have the latest model again. The latest. A person who is obsessed with cars, he will, get the latest model, but then a year later, the manufacturer will just change the headlights a little bit, change the backlights a little bit, and now that's the latest model. Okay? So now the person becomes unsatisfied with the latest model that was there last year, and now he wants the latest model this year. Okay, so this is when a person is uncontented with what he has, then he will always feel miserable inside, and he will always be pursuing that latest thing that is supposed to make him happy. But the reality is that it's a losing battle. He is just going to continue to chase and chase and chase until he comes to his grave. Also, another thing that one example I'd like to give you is for a person who is practicing Islam. The enjoyment that he gets for it, I heard a very good example one day, and it stuck in my mind from a scholar. He said, have you ever seen somebody who's eating really spicy food? Okay? And the person who's looking at him, he looks, and it looks like that person is going through torture. He's sweating, his eyes are red, and he's blowing his nose every few minutes, and then he's taking sips of water to make sure that, to cool himself down. A person can say to him that, what are you doing? Why are you putting yourself through so much torture? He will tell you, how do you know how much I'm enjoying this? Okay? So people who know and eat spicy food know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so this is basically an example of what a Muslim feels. On the outside it looks like torture, but on the inside it's pure enjoyment. Okay? Similarly, also from this verse we can derive that we should not have self-imposed hardship in Islam. We should not impose ourselves on ourselves hardship and difficulty. This is not what Islam is about. Okay, so for example, if a person has the choice to take a car or walk, he should take the car, unless he's basically walking for health reasons and so on, which is again something encouraged, but not with the intention that no, I must make life difficult for myself because religion should be difficult. Not with that intention. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the ease of being able to drive a car, then you should drive the car. On the other hand, if you are simply going with the intention of getting more hasanat by walking, or for physical reasons, for health reasons, that's another thing. But not with the intention of self-imposed hardship. Many people think that if I'm not going through difficulty, I'm not practicing Islam. And that's not right. That's simply not right. Many people think that I must walk around with a frown on my face all day, and that means that I'm a very serious Muslim. This is not really what Islam teaches. Prophet ﷺ always used to smile, always used to have a cheerful countenance, and he even said that when you meet your Muslim brother with a cheerful and smiling face, this is a form of sadaqah. Okay, so there are so many misunderstandings that we have about Islam, and one of them is that we must have self-imposed hardship, then we are good practicing Muslims. Once the Prophet ﷺ, he saw there were ropes tied to the pillar of the masjid. He said, what are these ropes doing here? Somebody said, these are the ropes of Zainab, or another Sahabiya, I think it was Zainab. Whenever she feels tired, when she's doing Qiyamul Layl, she basically holds on to the ropes so that she doesn't fall down. The Prophet ﷺ said, untie the ropes. This is not what Islam is about. Okay? When you are in Qiyam, you should be relaxed, you should be rested, and then you should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you feel tired, go to sleep, and then once you're relaxed again, then wake up and then get engaged in ibadah once again. Okay, so this is a pure and clean example of how the Prophet ﷺ didn't want people to impose hardship upon themselves in nawafil and supererogatory worship. And this is a big lesson we learn from this. Going on to Surah Al-Anbiya, as the title suggests, Anbiya means prophets. And there are various stories of the Prophets ﷺ in this surah. But what I want to point out is how, when these prophets went through hardship, what did they do? And we look again and again, and we see that all the prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about them, Nada Rabbahu. They called unto their Lord. They made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so this is a big lesson we learn. The prophets, the closest human beings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but yet they had to make dua also. They had to raise their hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wasn't that, okay, I'm a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what difficulty I'm going through, He'll resolve my problem Himself. No, again and again we see how the prophets, they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resolved their problems. We see first of all Nuh alayhi salam, وَنُوحًا إِذْ نَادَى مِنْ قَبْلُ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. Then we go on, and we look at Ayyub alayhi salam. وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And then we go on, وَذَنُّونَ Yunus alayhi salam. إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَن لَّن نَّقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَن لَّا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. وَزَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. And so on. All of them made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They raised their hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And each time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. We responded to him. We answered his call. So we learn from this that when we are going through difficulty, there's nothing wrong with, or it's encouraged to, we must raise our hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to alleviate the problems that we have. At the very least that we will get is that the sin will be removed from us, and we'll get the reward for actually making the dua that is a form of worship. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ad-du'a'u hiya al-ibadah." Dua is a form of ibadah. Okay? It's mentioned in a hadith that when a person, he sees the reward that he got for the dua that was not accepted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world, he will wish that none of his du'as will be accepted in this world. So the dua is something that we need to make a habit of, and we should not feel ashamed of. We should raise our hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in times of ease. Many people, they think that, okay, I'm not in any trouble right now, I'm not in any difficulty, but that's the time to build a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not at the time when you are in difficulty. Okay, which is, again, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts someone through difficulty and hardship and financial problems and health problems. Why? So that he turns his attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thereby gets close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of that difficulty. And yes, if a person is doing that, then that difficulty is actually a hidden blessing for him. It is a hidden blessing because it is making him turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the reality is that as Muslims, we should develop that relationship before those difficulties come and before that hardship comes, so that our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is intact. And then when we raise hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we feel more comfortable. We already have that conversation going with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that enables us to feel more comfortable when we're making dua. And this is, again, a hadith is mentioned that when a person who has that relationship that I mentioned, his dua goes up to the heavens, the angels, they recognize the voice, and that dua is taken up quickly, as opposed to the person who is not frequently making dua. So this is the lesson we learn from Surah Al-Anbiya, is that we should make dua. The prophets, despite being the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they raised their hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and made dua to him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to those duas. We should inshallah make that a habit of our lives. And especially, we have again this hesitation to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes. Why? We think because I'm committing a sin, I'm too sinful to raise my hands to Allah and ask Him. And then we put it on the shoulders of the Imam. Okay, Shaykh, make dua for me, or the community, make dua for us. You know, it's announced in public, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's good to ask other people to make dua for you. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he asked Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu to make dua for him when he was going for Umrah. So there's nothing wrong with that per se, but not with the intention that I cannot make dua, so therefore I'm going to tell somebody else to make dua. And if a person is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and because of that he feels that I cannot make dua, then he should step back a little bit, reevaluate his life, and think that I need to get all of these things out of my life, all of these hurdles out of my life that are becoming a hindrance between myself and my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need to stop committing this sin so that I can get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then I can raise my hands and make dua to Him without any form of hesitation whatsoever, without any guilty conscience whatsoever. And inshallah, I will hope that my dua will be accepted when I do that. Okay, so this is something that we need to also keep in mind. Okay, that relationship will only come when we stop committing those sins that we are guilty about. Okay, better to commit the sins rather than put the dua on other people's shoulders. With that, inshallah, we finish. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.